In 1971, Richard Nixon launched his war on drugs, focused on fighting the drug epidemic. 13 years later, in 1984, First Lady Nancy Reagan was visiting Longfellow Elementary School in Oakland, California. A young girl asked the First Lady what she should do if someone offered her drugs, to which Reagan responded, "Just say no." This seemingly short response would turn into a national slogan. In 1986, President Ronald Reagan signed the Anti-Drug Abuse Act, which allocated $1.7 billion towards law enforcement initiatives, some substance treatment, and created the concept of mandatory minimum sentencing for previously minor infractions. What would follow would be one of the most destructive and consequential initiatives in the history of American drug policy. Reagan's war on drugs made Nixon's look like a meditation circle. It quickly gained traction alongside severe punishments for all drug offenses and a more intense devotion to incarceration. This was highlighted by the implementation of mandatory minimums, often requiring mandatory jail time. However, these were not universally applied. In 1986, before the enactment of federal mandatory minimum sentencing for crack cocaine offenses, the average federal drug sentence for African Americans was 11% higher than for white people. 4 years later, the average federal drug sentence for African Americans was 49% higher. Programs like DARE denounced the use of drugs and alcohol and implemented an educational platform that created a temptation towards the unknown. Many of us have vivid memories of cops bringing in small baggies of fake drugs and little pipes. DARE created a forbidden fruit approach to drugs instead of speaking straightforwards to students with direct education. Let's also consider for a moment what having police officers presenting drug education implies. It connects drug use with criminality. This is an incredibly myopic perspective on what drug use really is. Essentially, people were being stigmatized twice. First, for using an illegal drug, and secondly, when the police arrest them. It is also important to recognize that the increase in punishments for drug-related offenses may have implicitly suggested to the public that harsher is better. Medicine realized addiction was a disease in 1956. Despite that, Reagan's government continued to punish people for having a medically diagnosed disease. While Nixon and Reagan are the fathers of the modern drug wars, nearly every American president of the last 60 years has fallen short of successfully challenging the disease of addiction. Presidents George H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton, and George W. Bush pushed their own versions of the war on drugs, with President Obama only beginning minimal implementation of reverses to these policies. Although it could be argued it is nowhere near enough. Similarly, Donald Trump's Attorney General Jeff Sessions noted that good people don't smoke marijuana. Joe Biden began the process of reclassifying of cannabis from a Schedule I to Schedule III substance. Some of these presidents did pardon individuals for low-level marijuana offenses, but hundreds of thousands have been affected, meaning this is the definition of too little, too late. The way we view substance use disorders, also known as addiction, was seen initially as a moral failing. This was known as moral theory and was the prevailing thought towards addiction for centuries. Moral theory believed that addiction was not a matter of physiology, but rather a matter of personal will. It allowed people to elevate themselves above what they saw as the weak-willed of society. This, of course, is untrue. Substance use disorders, the clinical name for addiction, is a medical disorder, having been a consensus perspective for nearly 75 years. Unfortunately, while the medical community was starting to learn more about the disease of addiction, society lagged woefully behind. Terms like junkie and crackhead became common phrases, perpetuating stigma deeper into popular culture and society. This created yet another barrier to finding treatment. Centuries of stigma grew worse during this time. It will never be known how many people delayed or denied themselves treatment for fear of judgment or punishment. The Just Say No campaign was a reductive approach to punishing someone instead of empathizing with them. We cannot undo the damage of Just Say No, but we can make sure people know that no matter what they're struggling with, that they and everyone is worthy of dignity, love, and respect. We'll see you next time on Unlost Causes.